Good afternoon, curling fans. There are 2 teams left here in the 3rd edition of the Men's Invitational in Adelboden. One very familiar team. And my little pick for the dark horse team of this tournament as well. We are at the grand final of the World Curling Tour event here in Adelboden. Unbeaten so far, it is team Retornaz of Italy, and really battling their way to this final. It is team Neue Traub from Switzerland, not team Neue Traub, pardon me, it used to be team Neue Traub. He has now joined team Schnider from Switzerland, and what a battle they have had to get here. The Italians really smooth progress. The Italians did have a difficult game during their round robin, and guess who it was against? It was against Schnider, needing an extra end to get past Schnider's team in the round robin. Schnider's team needing an extra end to get past their quarter-final opponents last night. That was a real fun game to watch. We were watching Schnider's team play the Czech team of Klima. Real fun game, backwards and forwards, the momentum for each team. But it was Schnider who drew to the forefoot with his last stone to win that game. And we caught the last couple ends of Schnider's semi-final against our Korean visitors, team Jeong. And it was a similar situation. It was all square going into the 8th end. And it was an even trickier shot. It wasn't even a draw to the forefoot. It was a promotion into the forefoot for Schnider, and he made it beautifully, dumping out the unbeaten Korean team. The Koreans getting directly to the semi-final, topping their group. And it was Retornaz who topped the other group. So the pair of them qualifying directly for semi-final. And Schnider's team really doing it the hard way, but they will be relishing a second chance to go up against the legendary Italian team. So conveniently, everybody is wearing the correct uniforms for their stone colour. It is Retornaz's team who have the last stone advantage in this first end. They are wearing their smart interim uniforms, the nice red hoodies from their region in Italy, in the northeast of Italy. And Schnider's team, with their yellow uniforms, they are conveniently for us playing yellow stones. My name is Lorna Rettig, and I will be hosting us through this final. I think we can expect some good fireworks from this game again. Schnider's team, such fighters, they really fight till the last centimetre of the last stone. They have really taken the long way to get here, unlike the Italians who have, well, if I say they've cruised through, I just mean that they've been playing very well. But as I said, during the round robin, we watched the Schnider Retornaz game during the round robin, and it was Schnider's team who got off to the brighter start. They play really fearlessly, this young Swiss team, and I'm delighted to see them making, I think this is a first final for them in a World Curling Tour event, and I'm really happy to see that. Took Retornaz to an extra end during that round robin encounter, so they will have learned plenty from that. They've just come through a really tight quarter-final, a really tight semi-final, both of which went to the last stone. And they should be bringing a lot of good confidence into this final, Schnider's team. They won't be at all intimidated.
5, 6. Linea, linea, linea. Sì. Bomba. A bomba. Hard. Hard. Vai Mattia, vai, vai, vai. Vai, vai, continua, continua. Okay. Okay.
And that one just coming up a little bit shorter for Amos Mazaner. So potentially advantage Switzerland here in this first end. Objectives pretty straightforward in the first end. Schnider's team without last stone, they want to frustrate the Italians. They just want to make sure Italy not having a chance to start piling stones into the house. They would be quite happy if they can force Italy to score 1 point. And Italy's objectives, exactly the reverse. So the Italians with the last stone advantage. They don't really want to give up that last stone advantage by only scoring 1. They would much rather score 2 or more. And an early mistake from Italy, that red coming up a bit short. The yellow on the left in the 8 foot, that's shot at the moment, and Andrew Schnider looking to put a second yellow in to put that pressure on the Italians. We've got the action cam on the ice today. You can see Andrew Schnider really concentrated throwing that stone. The sweeper standing off it, so it's coming in a little bit chunky. Oh, and that's just, that runs and runs, so that just creeping out the back actually, and a let off there for Italy. That's Andrew Schnider's practice throw. No more mistakes from him. First throw in the game for living legend Joel Retornaz. We have all been giggling at Joel this weekend because he's got a bit of a sore throat and sometimes sounding a bit squeaky. But I'm sure that will not bother him at all if they end up as champions here in Adelboden. They are the champions from last week's competition, this Italian rink. They were playing in Scotland in the Euro Super Series. And they played 6 games, won 6 games. But this one coming in hot as well. It does hang around, but it doesn't beat that yellow one.
Yep.
And a couple of mistakes early from both teams, but let's shake out those nerves and loose shots. So a second chance for Andrew Schnider to put a second yellow. What he doesn't want is to leave Joel Retornaz the chance of a double takeout. So we will see really careful stone placement here.
Tom, richtig komt goed. Heel enge Tom. Bring it in. Hard.
This certainly isn't longer. He's really adjusted this weight nicely. Ooh, that's going to come up a bit short. So an overcompensation there from Schnider. And good to see the fans already in the chat. Dennis was watching the semi-final earlier on today. It was a blistering performance from the Italians this morning. They really just demolished last year's champions, Team Hösli. Team Hösli without Marco Hösli this weekend. I had thought that Marco maybe just had to do his normal job or something, but unfortunately Marco is now recovering from a shoulder injury. He had quite a serious injury to his right shoulder. Of course, it would be his throwing arm, and Marco looking at about 12 weeks of physiotherapy to recover full use of movement in his shoulder. So we won't be seeing Marco Hösli on ice until probably January time. A brave effort from Hösli team. Martin Rios super subbing at skip for that team, but coming to an end this morning in the semi-final. Now, have they got the right angle here, the Italians? This was why it was important to get that second yellow in. And superb shot to start with from Joel Retornaz. And that's at least a score of 2, I think, to the Italians. I'm not sure if that red out front was hanging on. And uncharacteristically loose shots from Schnider there. As we said, it was Schnider who drew the forefoot last night to qualify for the semi-final after an extra end. And it was Schnider this morning who made a promotion to the forefoot to qualify for this final. So let's hope that's not getting to them. But let's say hello to the teams meanwhile. On the left of your screen, we have had tons of Retornaz games this weekend. We are watching fourth thrower Joel Retornaz, third Amos Mozaner, second Sebastiano Arman, and lead thrower Mattia Giovanella, coached as ever by Claudio Pescia. And on the right of your screen, also a slightly new lineup for Team Schnider. Fourth and skip is André Schnider, third Nicola Stoll, second a new signing Noé Traub, lead Tom Winkelhausen, coached by Roger Schmidt. So both teams with some new folks in the lineup this year. Mattia Giovanella in your picture there. Mattia, long-time alternate for this team. And now full-time member of the team, Simona Gonin, the previous lead thrower. He's focusing on mixed doubles this year. So Mattia stepping up to play with this team full-time, and it has to be said, having a pretty bright start. Very winning-y effort so far.
Questa era un po' spinta, allora mi ho dato solo per attivarla, ma ho dato una chance. Ok.
4-5. Ghiaccio simile.
André Schnider's team also played in Scotland last weekend. They did not end up champions, but they had games against teams from Scotland and the US. And also their great rivals, Team Yves Stocker.
Linea buona, Amos primo. 15-30. Ok, sola allora. Sola. Che buon tiro.
But quite a statement of intent from Joel Retornaz's team in that first end. A couple of loose shots, uncharacteristic for from André Schnider. His first shot just going through backline weight, and him overcorrecting with his second stone and not making the house, and that was a big steal of 3 for the Italians. If you're going to lose a 3, may as well do it in the first end. But against these tidy Italians, Schnider's team already with a bit of a problem.
Okay.
Very good front runners, the Italian team as well. They're very tidy with their shot placement and very tidy at keeping things clear as well. First throw of the second end for second thrower Sebastiano Arman.
Linea buona per te. Linea buona.
We have our fans from Asia Pacific, as always, tuning in. We had a real fun time watching our Korean team here in Adelboden this year. First time for a Korean team or a team from Asia Pacific. And we were delighted to welcome a team who's travelled a long way to play with us. They also played in Scotland last weekend, gaining huge experience against all these European teams. New signing in Team Schnider. This is Noé Traub. Noé, pretty successful skip in his own team last year and throwing a really nice double take out there. He does leave that yellow out front, but he's moved two of the troublesome reds out of the way. And next time it would be a yellow stone that we're driving back.
Ghiaccio di prima.
Oh, that's a nice thing to say. Another of our Asia Pacific colleagues who has a problem because both are very good teams and wants to support both of them. That's the right spirit though. We can support good curling.
Continua così. Hard. Hard. Oh. Okay, okay. Okay, buon tiro.
In the second end then, André Schnider getting a taste of, I think, what's going to happen roughly every end for the next 7. Big mistake from them, not getting a second counter in, and perfect angled raise. A real superstar shot from Joel Retornaz in that first end. Another super throw though from Noé Traub. Oh, has that yellow hung on? Could be worth a measure. If it's even casting a little shadow on the rings, it's worth a measure. We have a special 6-foot measure. And the only job for that measure, you put the pin in the middle, just like you do with the normal measure, and it's a rod 6 feet long, and if it touches the stone is in. If it doesn't touch the stone is out. It looks like Joe believes indeed that stone is just hanging on to the edge of the rings there. Not taking any chances. So big throw from the big guy. Oh, there's my buddy Glenn over in Toronto, our Canadian correspondent. He's diligently watching all the curling this weekend in Europe and in Canada. After 2 really peachy throws from his teammate Noé Traub. This is first throw in the second end for Nicolas Stoll. And look at that, he's got a lovely cluster of guards there. And that's a great throw from Nicolas Stoll. This is what we want to see. We want to see Schnider's team really bouncing back.
Okay. La giochiamo 3/4 interna. Wow. Cina. Oh, oh. Bravo.
And goodness me, the Italians throwing raised takeouts, angled raises, just for fun at the moment. But yeah, don't let that get to your head, Schnider team. You keep doing what you're doing. I like this idea. We can achieve two things with one stone. We'll see a controlled weight here from Nicola Stoll. He wants to just punch that red through and then get a nice roll himself behind all that cover. Or no, it turns out he's just going for the dead draw. Maybe feeling that's the easier way to get the stone in behind cover. It can be quite difficult to control a roll, and he surely does. Two super throws from Nicola Stoll, really giving themselves a chance to grab 2 points back in the second end. That would really settle the nerves in the Schnider team. There's another friend in Asia-Pacific region, also cheering for good curling. We had lots of fans from Korea tuning in, and from the other Asia-Pac countries. We had many people cheering for the Korean team over here in Europe. That was great to see.
Oh, Hi. Oh. No. Vicini. No worries.
But Joe Retornaz finally not making an angled raised quadruple takeout. I'll tell you why that is, viewer. As I said last week, the Italians played 6-1-6. They are the champions from the Euro Super Series competition in Scotland. And the week before that, we watched Joel Retornaz' team playing the new Yannick Schwaller lineup. And that time, to be honest, it was fourth thrower Benoit Schwartz, pretty much on his own, that beat the Italians. The rest of Schwaller's team playing nicely enough. But goodness me, Benny Schwartz was like a one-man army. And that seems to have really fired up the Italians, and they haven't lost a game since. And that's lovely stuff. That's more like it from Andrew Schnider. Good separation on those yellows. Not quite level. Definitely an opportunity for a double, but a difficult one. And this is good fighting back from Team Schnider. Cesar, Italian fan in the chat, he says Retornaz has turned on the God mode. I think he has. I often say that the curling gods, well, they can be a bit fickle, the curling gods. You never know whose side they're on. But yeah, looking more and more like curling god himself is out on the ice at the moment. So final throw in the second end for Joel Retornaz. Can he make the double takeout and really break some Swiss hearts? A good effort, but well worked there by the Swiss. Really strong response for them. They've worked very, very hard to give themselves a chance at this too. Plenty of love in the chat for Schnider's team as well. How do I say that? Is that Luan? Yeah, Ivan? Anyway, Schnider fans, very welcome here. Schnider's team really worked hard to get to this final, and they have really worked hard to put themselves in a great position to grab 2 points straight back with last stone. Tom Winkelhausen just trying to catch enough curl, make sure that stone doesn't spill out. And that's good stuff from the Swiss, a really super response. What a difference that makes to the scoreboard. That is a big score of 2 with that last stone advantage to Team Schnider, and that's really steadied the ship. So that means after 2 ends here at the final in Adelboden, it is Team Retornaz of Italy 3, Team Schnider of Switzerland 2. You can see just in the background there is a beautiful old trophy here in Adelboden. This is the 3rd edition of the men's event, World Curling Tour event here in Adelboden, and an older trophy from the club resurrected for this tournament, and it's a real beauty. And both teams out here would be a first time for them to win this trophy, so both teams very motivated to have a good final. Indeed, as Glenn says, confirmation of that super score of 2 from the Swiss straight back after a bit of a loose first end. And doesn't that score look a lot healthier already?
Okay. Freeze voor de droef. Okay. Daar een po' mangiasta.
We have plenty of support for both teams in the chat today. Pietro cheering for Retornaz and the Italians. We've had plenty to cheer about from them this weekend. But do you remember, viewers, way back on Friday, I think it could be when we were watching the round robin encounter between these two teams, and I said, if there's going to be maybe more of a surprise winner of this competition, keep your eyes on Team André Schnider, and here they are. They always play really fearlessly, Schnider's team. They never know when they're beaten.
Clean. Clean. China. Go. Two. Whoa. Linea. Whoa. Joe. Joe. Oh, oh.
Nice tidy throw from Mattia Giovanella.
10-26. Run. Yeah. Schnell.
We want to see the Swiss team keeping this third end tidy now. They just had a brilliant comeback in the second end, really worked hard to give themselves a chance at 2. And we want to see them staying on top of their game. It's the Italians who have last stone again in this third end. And objective for Team Schnider will be similar to the first end, although hopefully not with the same result. They just want to limit the Italians. And this is nice throwing from Noé Traub. Not quite getting the raised double, but a raised double, generally speaking, quite a difficult shot, but he'll be happy that he's left that yellow nicely out front and removed one of the reds that was in the house. There's Jim from English Curling. He's been very dedicated this weekend, and he's also happy to see the Swiss not panicking after losing a 3 in that first end and really fighting hard to play 8 out of 8 shots. And 2 real peaches from Noé Traub in particular to just clear out that space in the middle. Sebastiano Arman.
Linea buona.
I recently learned
Spazio per ora.
he has a
Linea
nickname,
buona.
Ramma.
Linea buona. Amos primo.
So
Amos.
Ramma being asked to
Linea
split
per
the
Amos.
house.
Sembra correre a me. 14,70.
Put a second red in there, pretty much level with the first one. And nice stuff from them. So that's a Versicherung Stein, an insurance shot. Schnider continuing to play towards the centre. Typically very aggressive style, Schnider's team. They could just hit that, well, both reds are somewhat open, but they could just hit the open red on the wing, try and roll towards the centre. But really trying to set up some pressure here on the centre line. Don't let the Italians drag the game away from the centre. So a more controlled rate from Noe Traub. That's just catching the curl towards the end. I don't think it's going to roll, it isn't, but this is what Schnider wants. He wants to drag the game back towards the centre.
Non gira tanto, qua Rama.
Ja, 12. Ist 12? Ja. Okay. Das ist schon etwa Hack am Schluss, ne? Wie lange?
Oh, and there's little Mai in her avatar,
Wow. Giù.
who's watching from Japan. Welcome back, little Mai.
Wow. Clean. Clean.
Our Asia Pac colleagues are very diligent also with their support.
Bomba, bomba, bomba. Ok, bravo. 11-20.
Good work again from Ramma.
Sì, ma anche
Big
la prima.
separation on those reds. A fancy across the house double takeout, definitely possible. But there is a reason why we call them a fancy across the house double. Never straightforward. But yes, no sweeping. That's often a good sign. And that's a nice throw from Nicola Stoll. He doesn't make the double, but again, he
9,5.
keeps the Italians busy.
2/3.
That yellow right next to the other red, and therefore harder for the Italians to get good separation with the shooter here.
9,5. Oh.
And that's the idea.
Rama. Rama. Oh.
Ramma being called on to sweep there. And not going to roll away at all. So clever stuff here from the Swiss. That's the half shot they were looking for. And look, those two reds right next to each other now. And Nicola Stoll has a chance to remove the pair of them. Oh, Nicola Stoll also wearing tremendous socks today. And he looks like he's got that perfectly. Really nice stuff from him. It looks like he's ever so slightly annoyed with himself for not rolling towards the centre as well. But I think we'll give that a bit of a, well, let's say a silver star for Nicola Stoll. He has absolutely neutralised the threat from the Italians, and Joel in this third end saying, okay, that's taken away our chance to score more than 1 point. Let us not mess around with trying to build an end with only 2 or 3 stones to come. Joel will also be thinking to himself that he would quite like to keep last stone in the even numbered ends, and that is because supposing both teams score something when they have last stone advantage, if you're the one with last stone advantage in the even ends, you will be the one with last stone advantage in the 8th end. And that's surely what Joel is also thinking with that beautiful double takeout from Nicola Stoll. The chance of making 2 points here with last stone in this third end, pretty slim. Joel surely saying to himself, you know what, let's go for a blank instead, hang on to last stone advantage in the fourth end. Andrew Schnider, meanwhile, he'll be quite happy for a bit of target practice, having a free throw. And that's still running on a little bit, but doesn't really matter. We know that Retornaz is going to hit that stone anyway. Greetings to Matthew in England. I think Matthew, I think you were supporting, was it Ross White's team last time? They've been playing in Norway this weekend, the Scottish teams. But they don't have the virtual curling club watching in Norway. That's only here in Adelboden.
Whoa, clean. Whoa, whoa. Whoa. Clean. Joe. Yep. Joe.
This should be straightforward throw for Joel.
Joe. Okay.
He would quite like this red to hang around, just in case he can get a mistake from Andy Schnider. And then they would, from nothing, have a chance at 2. And in contrast, Andrew Schnider, he will want to play pretty much the same stone that Joel just threw. He want to remove this red, keep his yellow hanging around, force Joel to play his last stone. And you never know, maybe he can get a mistake from Joel Retornaz. So always a picture of concentration, Schnider.
Oh, Achtung. Oh, Platz. Stop. Neue. Ja, bring ne. Mush. Okay.
So I'm not sure this stone's going to hang around. And Joel Retornaz, he will have a free throw. We won't see Joel playing T-line here. He has a free throw to maintain last shot advantage in the fourth end. So we see him throwing a big weight, but that gives them a chance to just see how the curl is playing on that bigger weight. Looks pretty straight. Really good play then from the Swiss team, actually. Nice setup from the Italians, but superb cleaning up from the Swiss team, and that was important that they kept that momentum going after that good comeback in the third end. So a blank there. And after 3 ends here in Adelboden, the score remains Joel Retornaz of Italy 3, Andrew Schnider from Switzerland 2. I'm really happy to see the young Swiss team kept the pressure on in that third end. We didn't want a repeat of the first end, where they had a couple of loose shots and let the Italians really snatch a bunch of points from them. And I was really happy to see that Schnider's team stuck to their task. Again, some real precision hitting from Noah Taub and Nicola Stoll, neutralising Italy's efforts. We are approaching the halfway point in the final here at the third edition of the Men's World Curling Tour event in Adelboden. Neither of these teams have won the trophy before. We will have a new champion team no matter who wins today. These two teams, they did meet in the round robin stage. There were 2 groups in the round robin stage, and these teams were drawn in the same group, and it was the Italians who won from the round robin, but they needed an extra end to get past this awkward Swiss team.
Ok, good so. Questo è null meine.
5.
Sì.
I am, of course, a well-known Retornaz fan,
Oh, linea buona.
but I am real happy to see young Andre Schnider's team
Oh,
making all
spazio.
this progress without a
Spazio.
coach.
Giù,
They don't have a full-time coach.
giù forte. Oh,
All the
linea
more
no.
impressive
No, giù,
the
giù,
kind
giù.
of results they grind out.
Giù. Parliamo la gialla se puoi. Ok.
They beat Niklas Hedin's team in Baden.
We kunnen daar teilen.
And they should be feeling pretty confident.
Volevo solo dargli un po' di giro.
Noah Traub having a wonderful game so far. Noah Traub was skip of a different team last year, and Team Traub, they had some good wins last year, but that team sprinkling over 3 different men's teams this year. Noah Traub is human after all. His shot just rolling out of the rings there.
Oh, giochiamo dentro. Oh, facciamo questo.
Oli Widmer, he's also cheering for his Swiss counterparts. Hop Schneidi.
11.
Wow.
I feel like I've been waiting for
Clean.
Andre Schnider's team to show up, start showing up in semis and finals. And I think big opportunity here for them in Adelboden this weekend.
Sì. Oh. Sì, sì. Bravo. 11 e mezzo. Fatta bene.
But as I said, the last game the Italians actually lost, it was a quarter-final in Baden 2 weeks ago, where the Italians, I thought, played very well, actually. But pesky Benoit Schwartz was like a one-man army. And he was lifting angled triple after double raise all morning, or evening, it was Saturday evening. And that must have really annoyed the Italians, because they have not lost a game since. That is not what they wanted. Noah Traub not adjusting there. He's played a number of big hits and then having to adjust back to the gentler weight, and that one coming up a bit short, so over curling and crashing the guard.
La sua ha girato per la molata molto
Let's hope that's
tonda.
not too expensive for the Swiss.
Ok.
Welcome, Robert. Great to have you with us. Oh, that does sound like a perfect way to spend a rainy Sunday morning in Quebec. Have a nice cup of tea with your breakfast
Linea buona.
and watch some
Linea.
top-level curling.
Linea. Hard. Oh. Oh.
If you want to say hi in the chat, let us know
Linea buona.
who you're cheering for or what you're having for breakfast.
Hard. Hard.
That is a great shot from Ramma. Really wrapping that right round. But, yeah, not too far to punch that yellow back on the run back. We want Nicola Stoll to continue his winning-y form here. Yellow onto red, that would be a real nice shot. Oh, he's got them all moving. What a great shot. Phew! So an uncharacteristic miss from Neutraub, beautifully tidied up by Nicola Stoll. I told you we would have some fireworks in this game, gang.
Era 15 Rama.
Olympic champion at mixed doubles, Amos Mazzana.
Buona 5.
Linea buona.
5. 5.
Oh, aspetta allora.
5. 6.
Wanting to replace a stone in behind the corner guards.
Giù, giù, giù.
This is looking pretty nice.
Giù, hard, hard. Giù, 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 giù. Okay. Vabbè.
Yep. Pretty nice line, pretty nice weight.
Freeze near the trap. Okay. T-line. Belly, get out of the T-line. Careless fill.
Nicola Stoll being asked to just follow that stone in. You can see the run back now significantly longer. Ooh, excellent close-up of Nicola Stoll's terrific sock game. And of course, Mattia Giovanella also rocking his socks today. I'm not sure who is wearing the best socks out there. And the science is in, folks. If you wear excellent socks, your curling is terrific. What a great shot. Bravo, Nicola Stoll.
Ok. Stappa.
He's having a great game today.
Perché se la tocchiamo bisogna che vada un po'.
No, con 12 anche sì. 12.
Nicola Stoll cancelling out the first throw of Amos Mazzana. Can Mazzana sneak a second stone around?
Hard. Hard.
He's pretty accurate. And that's a good throw from Amos. He knows that he's sacrificing his first red, but that moves that yellow far away as well, and that yellow is now behind T. I think that red is at least half open, I think. It looks, yeah, looks like Schnider indicating that he should be able to get to that red and swing towards the middle. Oh, and here's our happy Italian fan, Osako from Japan. The Knights from Trento. Osako was thinking that the Italian men in their nice new red uniforms, they remind her of some knights from medieval times. And we were saying, yes, we would all feel very safe being protected by the big, tall Italian boys. Big shot here for Andrei Schnider. Although in a final like this, almost every stone is a big shot. Andrei just chasing that red, controlled weight, letting his sweepers do the work. Oh, that's a super shot. Bravo, Andrei. That's what we like to see. If you're just joining us in the first end, just a couple of loose shots from the Swiss and giving up a big steal of 3. And I'm really happy to see that they immediately just picked themselves up, found their best shots, really tightened up their throws, and really setting themselves up real nice out there again. They came back with a big 2 in the second end, forced a blank really in the third end, and now forcing Joe Retornaz to hit that centre guard.
Whoa. Close. Sit. Whoa. Sit. Yep. Hard. Whoa. Whoa. Rama.
Good shot from Joel. Clears out the whole of the centre line. the guard and the yellow that was in the front of house. But nevertheless, again, Andrew Schnider has a chance to put a second yellow and force the Italians to take 1 point and give up that last stone advantage. We're approaching the halfway point here in our final from Adelboden. Andrew Schnider then just wanting to put pressure on Italy. They don't need to win this end, but a second stone tucked in behind cover, that will put the pressure on Italy. Italy will be forced to score 1 point, give up last stone advantage. The sweeper's just making sure. This stone looking pretty nice, but the sweeper's just helping it out. 8 for 8, really lovely throws from the Swiss, and indeed the Italians being forced to score 1 point. This game delicately poised at the halfway stage. Retornaz, he does have some backing. He has that yellow just on the back 8 foot. But he won't be thinking about that. The professional way is to simply draw to the 4 foot. And if it happens to be running a bit too high, there is that orange. There isn't an orange at all. There is a yellow to catch it, but oh golly, he's certainly not needing the backing with this stone. Oh gosh, is this a mistake from Joel? Good heavens. Wow. Well, I think that surprised everybody. I think there are 8 surprised people out there. Goodness me, what an emotional roller coaster we're on, and it's only the halfway. I think, yeah, the Swiss can't believe their luck there. All they wanted to do was try to force the issue. But they've only stolen a couple of points. Wowzers. So, at the halfway point then, after 4 ends here in Adelboden, the score, it is Joe Retornaz 3, Andrew Schnider 4.
Bene. Linea buona.
Well, hang on to your hats, viewers. This game has had everything, and we've only had 4 ends. Look at that. It was a huge score of 3 for the Italians in the first end. The Swiss battling back with a well-worked 2 points in the second end. And forcing, really, the blank in the third end, and intending to force a score of 1 to the Italians in the fourth end, but Joel's final stone coming up just short. Those 2 Swiss counters putting pressure on Joel's final throw, and I think for about the first time this weekend, we've seen a bad shot from Joel Retornaz. That's most unusual. So the Swiss, they will be looking to keep this momentum going for them. We might expect the Italians to be slightly more consistent. Certainly the Italians are more experienced. They're the current world bronze medalists. And of course, the big man, Amos Mazaner, he is one half of the gold medal Olympic championship team with Stefania Constantini. First medal for curling for Italy, and it was a big gold medal. And they're going to need all of that experience. And that's not what Mattia Giovanella wanted at all. Uncharacteristic miss from him. I wonder if the momentum has shifted a little bit here. Glenn, I completely agree with you. Yeah, still early part of the season. The Italians really leaped out of the blocks for the start of their season. But as I said, Andrew Schnider, they're my surprise winner for this weekend. I suggested we keep an eye on this team, and they are absolutely earning their place in this final. Some really entertaining stuff. Nicola Stoll, when he looks back on this game, gosh, he's had some amazing shots already.
Tre quarti.
Oh,
Spostarle tutte e due. Tre quarti esterna.
as a well-known Retornaz fan, it makes me rather sad to say this, but this is a bit of a peel of shame, is what we call it, when you've accidentally landed one of your own stones in the guard position and your colleague has to move it. But phew, thank heavens for Sebastiano Arman. And he not only clears that trouble, but he gives himself a couple of lovely corner guards as well. Schnider then rather committed to this aggressive end. Their objective in the fifth here, Andrew Schnider's team, the same as it is in the fourth. They just want to frustrate the Italians. Don't let the Italians build points. They are +1, Schnider's team. They have a couple stones nicely placed there in the forefoot. And Noé Traub just being asked to put one in front. We are playing a no-tick rule here in Adelboden. But that no-tick rule only lasting as long as the free guard zone. But in principle, a stone touching the centre line during free guard zone is also protected by the no-tick rule. That's because these big guys, they were getting so efficient at the tick shot, so just moving the centre guard off the centre line but without moving it out of play. And these big teams were getting so efficient at that we are now experimenting with a no-tick rule. So if your stone is touching the centre line, you're not allowed to tick it, but that rule over for this end. And Ramma throwing a huge weight at this, and he gets the whole lot moving. That is okay. That is some good stuff from the second thrower from Italy. That yellow still hanging around, but importantly, nowhere near the centre anymore. But if we're being super picky, he has still left a guard out front. And the science is in, folks. The man with the best socks on the ice happens to be playing the best curling on the ice. And that's science for you. Again, just putting a second Swiss counter in, second yellow stone. Schnider's team don't need to steal this end, but they do want to put pressure on Italy. And every time you have two yellow stones, two Swiss stones in there, That's putting pressure on Italy. The Italians not able to simply draw a stone round corner guards.
Proviamo il roll e vediamo come si sviluppa la mano.
Two opposition counters.
11,5.
That's always forcing the issue to your opposition.
11,5.
Amos Mazzana, we shall need all of his
11,5.
champion material at mixed doubles.
Oh.
Looking to
Oh!
hit and
Oh!
roll behind the corner guards. I think he's done that perfectly.
10,90.
He surely has.
Ze nemen een shot, normaal. Normaal clean.
That yellow still out counting, but that red now nicely hidden behind those corner guards. And that puts a little bit of pressure back on the Swiss. If the Swiss now would ever miss a stone, then that red just thrown by Mazzana over there on the wings, that red will definitely be coming back into play. Schnider's team then committed to an offensive defence, just trying to be more aggressive, have more counters in the right place than the Italians. And I can only apologise, Nicola Stoll, for accidentally cursing the poor man.
Tanto lui poi se ne frega, va lui,
The other option for Italy would be to just remove that yellow just next to Joel's brush there. And the reason they don't really want to do that is because they've seen how accurate Schnider's team have been throwing to the centre. And they're probably thinking to themselves, okay, if we don't throw to the centre right now, then they will.
La linea anche. 5. Linea buona. No, giù, non serve troppo giù. Linea perfetta. Velocità, velocità. Dai, raga. Piena bianco.
But this one coming up a little bit short as well. That's fine, I would say, but definitely space behind it, as Nicola Stoll indicating. You could try the direct draw on the anti-clockwise handle. I think that's probably easier if you're coming on the clockwise handle. That's quite a small gap, and you might end up touching your own guard. I think the anti-clockwise handle is going to be a bit easier. But important that the Swiss now get a second counter in. That yellow, right next to the brooms there, that yellow is still the shot. Mazzana's stone coming up a bit shorter than they expected. Critical now that Schnider gets a second counter in. The Swiss must be lying 2 after this shot, or they could be looking at a hatful. Oh, that's a nice thing to see. Clear work. Clear joining us from Japan. Yeah, we always have so many fans joining us here in the virtual club from Japan and Korea and the other Asia-Pacific nations. And we love to see you, Clear. Thank you for joining us. And we're happy that you get to enjoy these European teams from the comfort of your house in Japan. Very nice. I think curling pretty popular in Japan. I think they have very good supporters in Japan. Clock was telling us yesterday that it was this same Korean team, they won a competition in Japan against the Japanese men's team. They won that competition, I think it was 2 weeks ago maybe. We are really spoiled for curling now. There's loads of curling to watch, and I know that Glenn in Toronto, he's keeping eyes on the Canadian competition for us. And that is a superb Versicherungsstein, insurance shot from Andrew Schnider, and it had to be. If that stone had not gone well, then I think we probably would see Joel Retornaz removing that yellow, or just bumping in his own red stone, and then Schnider would be facing a very difficult shot with his last stone. He has really given his team a much easier job with that super stone with his first throw. What can Joe Retornaz do about this? Can he bring those other reds back into play? Or is it going to be what we call a skip's deuce? That means if you do get 2 points, both of those points come from the skip stones. Oh boy, this one has a heap to curl. This one not at all following the same path as Schnider's. So just some mistakes starting to creep in then with the Italians. This was exactly the same kind of feel during the encounter in the round robin between these two teams. It was the Swiss who were on top, and then the Italians really kind of grabbed themselves back out of the hole and went on to finally win in an extra end. I would not be surprised if we see an extra end again today. The score currently 4-3 in favour of André Schnider over the more experienced Italian rink. But big opportunity here for Schnider's team. After a slow start in the first end, they've barely put a stone wrong. And great opportunity here to really put the pressure on Italy. They're already lying those 2 counters. Schnider's team. That's how it looks in the mirror. And we saw this in the 4th end there. Pretty simple setup it was, just 2 Swiss counters, putting the pressure on Italy, and with Joel's final throw, his final stone coming up short. And the Swiss will be quite happy to just put that same pressure on here. Try to block the path to the button for Retornaz.
Yep. Yep.
Ooh. Schnider really turning the screw here. That's about though as far as that stone wanted. I didn't want to see that stone travel any further into the house, or you could leave Retornaz an easier shot actually to try to make a double takeout. Yeah, I think that could be your only choice here, boys. Again, really well set up by the Swiss here. Look at that, 1, 2, 3 yellows. Putting huge pressure on this final throw from Retornaz. I think the weight from his previous stone, Joel, I think the weight looked okay, but it did not find the curl and stayed really straight. His previous shot. He will be looking to make that adjustment. Throwing against 3 opposition stones, Joe Retornaz. This looks better. He's certainly nowhere near the guard this time. Has he got the right weight? Oh boy, that is a champion's throw. Superb throw from Retornaz. Whoa. That is a game saver. Making no mistake with that final throw. Learning from the 4th end. Making that adjustment, perfect weight. He didn't have any backing. And there was all kinds of stones that could have caused him trouble, but a real skip stone from Joe Retornaz really getting the team out of trouble. And what a difference that makes to the scoreboard. An all-important score of 1 to Italy. But again, super end from the Swiss. But superb final throw from Retornaz. He had very, very little flexibility, and that levels the scores. So after 5 ends, in our final in the World Curling Tour event in Adelboden, it is 4 points each.
No, vabbè, ma la mia era una merda, tirata male. La tua era 14,4 di tuo. Sì, anche il 4, te l'ho detto.
2 più 3.
Our Italian fans in the chat, you can all breathe again. Things were looking a little bit sticky there. But our hero, Senor Retornaz, keeping this game alive. Phew, so deep breath everyone. And Mattia Giovanella
Linea buona.
also wearing pretty good socks.
Linea un po' forse. Beh, su.
No, linea buona.
And being asked for
Linea un po', sì, linea, sì.
a guard here.
Ok.
And he will want this to touch the centre line so that it can also be protected by no tick rule.
Linea molto buona. Ok, lì. 15 e mezzo.
And that's the perfect start from Mattia Giovanella. It's as though he's played with this team for years. I suppose he has. He's been a long-term alternate player with the Retornaz rink, but now playing full-time. And as we said, if you maybe play lead at your club and you think, oh, that's because I'm not very good, or it doesn't really matter if I don't make my shots, it certainly does. You can see how important that position is at this high level. You can see how much the team really depends on Mattia Giovanella to set up the ends.
Linea buona. Aspetta allora, linea. Linea buona. Linea buona. Gioca per T-line, 7. Linea buona. Linea perfetta. Linea perfetta. Filo giù se vuoi. Giù, devi attaccarsi.
After a very tense fifth end, Retornaz throwing against 3 opposition stones. We can all take a bit of a breath. It's André Schnider's Swiss team who have last stone in this 6th end. We often find a lot of stones in play in the 6th end as both teams really push to do something decisive in the game. This also looks nice from Tom Winkelhausen. And that's fine. It is that red that's still planted to the centre, but much more space around it now. And a couple of dangerous yellows around the forefoot. Undefeated so far, the Italians. Undefeated last week, played 6-1-6. Undefeated this week, played 5-1-5. André Schnider's team having to fight their way to this final, but making the most of it. There's an interesting setup.
14-26.
Schnider reckons that... Can you see enough of that red? Yeah, I'm not sure if you can actually. And I don't think you'd help yourself actually throwing the big weight at the short red. I think if you wanted to throw the big weight, you may as well try to play the run back. Otherwise, the only way to hit that red is really on the outside, and then I think the red you hit will just go straight onto the red in the middle. The red in the middle will squirt out the side. Or will it? We shall soon see. Controlled throw then from Neutraub. He has thrown some real screamers already this game to just clear some space. This the more controlled way. Has he got it round the front? Ooh, that held its breath. Whoa, take that. Pick that out, Italy. You could not have radio controlled that stone any better. What a throw from Neutraub. They have really come to play. Schneider's team here, their first World Curling Tour final, and they are determined to make the most of it.
La doppia qua dietro. Bisogna giocare questa se volete, però lui gioca qua.
There's James from English Curling. He's also cheering for Italy.
Cosa vi piace?
This a fun game for the neutral curling fan as well, I think. I think both these teams pretty popular. And also fun if you just want to enjoy good curling. So, how do you follow that one, Sebastiano Arman?
Oh, clean. Oh, Joe.
Again, not quite finding the same line as the Swiss. And jamming onto that back yellow, but that's a good result. That's found a good spot for Ramma. I don't quite think the angle's there for a double, is it? Schneider thinks maybe.
So, da durch. Der Shotweg wäre der, aber wir können noch den Run spielen.
Über Angerrot können wir nicht an Shot. Das ist zu weit vor.
Ja, der ist recht. Also der Dünn geht nicht und der da wäre Viertel.
Nein, ich meine dünn.
Oder der Run, die zwei wegräumen.
Everyone coming up for a powwow.
Der?
Make sure we're all aligned. Make sure
Ja,
we're not missing an idea.
Er ist schon mutig, wenn er jetzt die ganze Zeit noch Garde spielt auf den.
Also wenn wir jetzt
Wenn er nicht perfekt die Garde hat, gibt es eine Viererhütte.
This sixth end often really pivotal. Both the teams trying to make a mark on the game. So important decision here.
Wenn wir den angreifen, machen wir das. Und sonst machen wir Garde weg. Ja, dann liegt immer mal.
I can see the point of trying to do something about that red on the left of the centre line on the anti-clockwise handle, because that's in quite a dangerous position to bump into the 4 foot from there. On the other hand, maybe now is your chance to do something about the shot stone. And on another hand, I can see the wisdom of saying, yeah, what about let's try the run back, because then at the very least we don't have any more guards in the middle. And I think that is the decision. So don't hold back, Noah Traub. Big drive out from Traub. It did look like a nice smooth delivery. And that's good stuff from Traub again. He does sacrifice one of his own yellows, but he's moved everything around. And that red stone that was shot is now behind T. He is slightly unlucky that the red over on the right of the screen, I think that's out counting the yellow at the back ring. If Italy remove this yellow counter, they will be lying at least 2 rather than only 1. What important is that there's now a lot more space around that 4 foot. And there is still a guard out front that Schnider can use.
Linea. Oh.
And just because he can, Amos Mazaner
Ganz viel.
removing both of the yellows. But don't panic if you're a Schnider fan. There's plenty of space to come around that guard. That red is behind T-line.
Richtig gut. Gerade Ribotta. Oh, richtig gut, nur länger.
It is Schnider who has last stone in this decisive sixth end.
Toll, Mann, Stych.
The sweeper standing off this one. The weight not bad, but you need to give your sweeper something to do.
Sei. Invece 9. 14,5 quindi. Com'è?
13,80 questa.
Sì. Basta toccare il forfo per una shot.
Sì.
Joel just calling down the speed of that previous stone thrown by Nicola Stoll. It sounded like he said 15.8, which is really very fast. That will be the hog-to-hog time.
Linea buona.
6. 6.
Oh, aspetta linea.
6.
Clock in Scotland appreciating Mozaner's first throw. Let's see if he can back it up with
Rama primo.
a nice second throw here. This looks nice. The sweeper's really controlling it. This looks just perfect for weight. Really great throw from the big guy.
An der Fastkant.
Doppel.
Okay, wo muss ich noch haben?
Modestly pleased with himself.
Gut. Was schnell oder 9?
9. Dann behalten wir uns.
Questa qua è la linea dall'altifera.
9 gut.
It is the Swiss who have last stone, but Italy keeping the pressure on at the moment. From Italy's perspective, with scores tied here, they would be quite happy to force Switzerland to score 1 point and give up last stone advantage. Wow, Nicola Stoll's hitting has been outstanding this afternoon, and that's another beauty. Getting rid of one of those reds, moving the other one out of harm's way.
Vicine.
Sì, c'è meglio noi qua.
Qua sono vicine. Comunque ancora. Ma come faccio a portare?
Italy want to be careful now.
Fas nose. Ah, il gannato devo prendere. No, fas. Sì, è vero.
Non so, sono vicine.
È che tanto boccia o giuga qua e lo possiamo andare a vedere.
I think it's not easy to bring those yellows, sorry, the yellow on the left that Mattia's standing in front of. There it is. Now it's on the right of our screen. That yellow there, not easy to bring that back into play, but could still be a danger.
Io sicuramente dopo il boccia qua. Oh. Questo.
No, perché è fuori quella lì?
No, è per dopo.
We have 4 stones to come
Fa una doppia.
in this decisive sixth end. We have 2 for Italy, and we have 2 for Switzerland. Scores are tied going into the sixth end
Sì.
after some brilliant setup play from the Swiss, forcing Joe Retornaz to draw to the forefoot with not too much flexibility either side.
Perché gioca nose?
12, nose, alla fine un po' interno.
Ah, provare a tornare all'interno?
Sì, da sì che passano bene.
Ok.
Italy wanting to remove at least one of those yellows. try to make sure that the Swiss don't even have a chance to try to make 2 points. That will be objective met for Italy in this end. Minimum objective.
Whoa. Whoa. Clean. Whoa. Clean.
First throw in the 6th end
Clean.
for Italian skip
Clean.
and living legend Joe Retornaz.
Clean. Yep. Whoa.
And again, just that nice controlled weight. But all those reds are behind tee. Still lots of space for Schnider to swing a stone in around that guard out front.
Toppelweg voor Eindhoven. Wij zijn het einfachste. Eigenlijk. Ja. Dat gaan we 2 machen.
Big discussions going on now for Schnider's team. Schnider's team looking pretty comfortable to score 1 point in the 6th end, but they don't really want to score 1. Give up last stone advantage. They want to find a place for this yellow that is too difficult for Retornaz to remove and too difficult for Retornaz to outcount. You can see in the background there, that's Celine, our official event photographer. You'll be able to see photos on Instagram and on Facebook for all the teams here.
Clean.
Andrew Schnider's first throw in the 6th end. 2 stones left to come after this one. They want to find just the right spot for this yellow. Try to keep it safe from the firepower of the Italian team. And I think that's found a pretty nice space there. Yeah, there was no advantage really to bringing that yellow all the way up to the red. You could do if the yellow was running on a bit or going a bit too fast, but that's a better spot for it there because it's still ahead of tee. The problem with doing some kind of freeze on the red behind is that there would still be space then in front for Joel Retornaz to just sink another stone in. And this time he's got kind of no choice but to play sort of backline hack weight. Just try to catch an edge of that yellow. Hope he can spin the yellow far enough away that the Swiss don't have a shot to try to make 2.
Whoa, 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 clean, whoa, Rama, Rama, whoa, whoa, clean, whoa, yep,
Yes, no sweeping, sounds good.
hard, whoa, Rama.
They've judged that perfectly around the guard. And they have done enough to just push that yellow beyond the other reds, and that means that indeed I don't think I see a shot where the Swiss could score 2. You can only score 2 points if your opposition makes a mistake. No mistake from the Italians in the 6th end. And good work from them to force the Swiss now to take 1 point. Same kind of shot for Schnider. He's just thrown it. The sweepers will look after this all the way. We certainly don't want the stone travelling over a pickup or something avoidable. Always clean, always clean. Is that stone going to stop in time? It is. Phew. That is 1 yellow. Good end from both teams there. But 8 out of 8 for the Italians, and that means the Swiss were forced to score 1. Bringing us after the 6th end. We have a score. André Schnider is leading Joe Retornaz's team 5 points to 4. Don't go anywhere, viewers. We have 2 ends left in our really tense final here in Adelboden. Don't worry, Cesar, we're not finished yet. That was 16 really good stones in end 6, and that had the effect of forcing the Swiss team to draw for 1 point, which they did. And that means it is the Italians who have last stone advantage in this 7th end. Their ideal situation from here, the Italians, would be to maybe just blank this end, hold on to last stone advantage for the 8th end. Therefore, Schnider's objective for this end is completely the reverse. They would like it if they could do the reverse to Italy as happened to them in the 6th end. So if the Swiss could now force Italy to score 1 point in the 7th end, that would be advantage the Swiss team. That would mean scores are tied, and the Swiss would have the all-important final throw in the 8th end. That's what they'll be trying for. That's why they've put the guard up first from Tom Winkelhausen and swinging a stone in really beautifully behind it. I'm not sure the exact data if blank ends are less common now in 5 rock free guard zone, as well as the no tick rule. I feel like it is less common. That first stone of Tom Winkelhausen touching the centre line, so protected by no tick rule.
Linea buona. Un po' di spazio. Linea buona. Clean, stai lì, Rama. Puoi finirla. Ok, linea buona. Bene lì.
Good throws from Mattia Giovanella. 2 corner guards ready to use.
Los. Richtig tief.
Länger knapp.
Wow, richtig gut, nur länger. Wow. Wow. Wow, ist weit draussen. Sehr gut, gut. Ist richtig super. Gerle. Gerle. Ja. Ja, bring ihn. Der ist super, komm mit. Noch ein bisschen.
Andrew Schnider was saying this is super, and yeah, I think I would agree with him. Piling towards the centre, Schnider's team, trying not to let Italy bring those corner guards into play. So Italy looking for a nice big double takeout now on these centre guards. We've seen Rama throw a few of these already this game and this weekend. And he certainly does get 2 of them. Great throw from him.
Guard. Noch ein weniger.
Ja.
Warte.
Länger ist
Richtig
recht
okay.
gut.
Und besser. Warte. Oh, oh, Pause. Ja, bringen.
Er ist recht nahe schon.
Wenn er 3 ist, kommt er gut.
Bring
Bringen noch, ja.
Bring ihn, Tom, bring ihn,
Ja.
bring ihn. Musst.
Musst.
This is the best way to put pressure on Italy,
Noch ein.
is to leave that stone where it is in the centre.
Okay.
Keep putting that guard out front. That forces the play to the centre, doesn't let Italy bring those corner guards into play.
Ja.
Così che la riporta alla corner al massimo. No?
Per la velocità.
Ok. Sì, ma anche se non rolli del tutto nascosto va bene.
Non ne ho tante per quello.
12. Clean. Cina. Oh. Testa. Linea. Oh. Cina, linea. Hard. Bomba linea. Quello che hai per roll.
Perfectly judged there. Perfectly thrown from Sebastiano Arman.
Okay.
Moves the yellow from the centre and gets a perfect roll behind cover on the wings.
Ja, schon schwierig. 10 Fuß, 4.
Bisschen risky wegen Marco.
Wir können ja Run spielen.
Wenn er
Innen,
Mitte
oder?
als...
Oben drüber.
So, ja.
Aber mit innen.
Ja.
Ja. Hast du noch ein bisschen weniger gegeben? Ja.
Wow.
Stop.
Wow. Clean. Tier. Wow. Tier.
He's been getting these all day.
Raus.
Kann nicht raus.
There's Nicola Stoll. And doesn't quite get the raised double. But as I said, raised doubles, not really your everyday throw. And that red is fully in the open.
Ah, quella vera. Però lei non sa quella.
So, questa forse è quella che mi piace meno. Piuttosto qua.
Ah, sì?
Yeah, you can't guard everything, Joel. So may as well
Lui ha appena giocato il run, lo rigioca.
try to think what would Schnider prefer to do. And let's try to block that.
Vedere alla nostra Joy non ti piace?
Non mi dispiace lì. Qua il problema è che rimane anche un filo aperto. Qua non mi piace qua.
Sì?
Sì, però non fa la doppia.
Ok.
14 e mezzo.
Qua finisce bene secondo me.
Raman giocava una prima 14 e 7.
La linea buona.
T-line. 6.
Linea,
Sì, vai.
6.
linea buona.
T-line.
Linea buona.
T-line.
Aspetta, oh. Clean.
T-line.
Solo clean.
6. 5.
Linea. Oh.
Sì, la mano
Giù allora. Giù. Gira.
Velocità serve.
Dai, giù.
Ooh. Has that stone made it in? I think it has.
Quant'era di
Kant. Als entweder is sterk.
Vind je dat goed?
Oh, de derde dan.
mica avevo questa.
Hak.
Ti Rama?
Als ze willen.
Der Hinger würde ich.
Goed.
Dann ist Mühe mehr wie Kant.
Hek is stipt op, lang het vurk.
Ja.
Hek.
Secondo voi,
Tiep. Wow.
Clean.
Tiep. Tiep.
Wow.
Tiep.
First red though, still wide open.
Nooit, tanden. Hard.
Not going to make it to there though. So he does move the front red, but leaves himself a little bit open here, Stoll. There, that's the trophy. Isn't it nice? It's an older trophy, so some names from way back when.
11 e mezzo. 12.
Clean.
11 e mezzo.
Oh. Cina. Oh. Giù. Oh.
11.
Linea. Alright.
11.
Bomba linea. Roll. Ok.
Italians quite nicely set up to score 2. We will need a little bit of magic from Andrew Schnider here.
Achtung. Oh, clean.
Achtung.
Achtung. Zie. Wow. Nee,
Oh.
clean. Nooit. Nee, is goed.
Nooit.
Ja, maar nooit moes. Nooit moes.
And has he got the roll? Not quite. He will have one more try at it, Schnider.
Basta prenderla proprio 3 qua.
Sì, ma un bel roll nascosto.
Perché se siamo a metà nascosta è un buon shot.
Oh. Clean. Wow.
No.
Clean. Vamos.
Giù.
Giù.
Bomba.
Giù. Hard.
Prendi quel qualcosa.
And neither team quite finding the right curl. I think Schnider can still get to that red. Would he be shot though if he did a hit and roll towards the centre? And hardly any distance now. Should be a little bit more doable. Would they be shot though? This I don't know.
Okay.
Losing a 2, not the end of the world for Schnider. They would very much prefer to lose just 1 point here. But if they do lose 2, that would mean they're minus 1 point, but with last stone going into the last end.
Ganz weg. Wow, komm, raus, Schisch. Okay.
Okay.
Ich habe einfach Angst, dass es dann vom Tempo nicht lange mit wenn er hinten jammt.
Our other Matthew in the chat, not to be confused with Matthew in England, wondering was it worth trying the double there. It might have been actually. Well, it depends how you feel about your 8th end, right? So if you have a successful double takeout, Italy will blank the end, because I don't think your shooter can stay the way the angles were. I think you would have rolled out yourself, and then Italy would blank that end. And then, yeah, it just depends if you feel more comfortable in the classic situation. Do you feel more comfortable being +1 without hammer or -1 with hammer? And certainly this tactic suggests that Schnider would rather have 1 down, but with that all-important hammer in last end. So a careful end there, again from everyone really. 16 nice stones coming there. And now it's the 50-50. We have Italy are +1, but they will not have last stone. And the Swiss team, they are -1. They will have last stone. The score going into the 8th, will it be final end here in Adelboden, is Team Joe Retornaz of Italy 6, Team Andrew Schnider from Switzerland 5.
Una come prima sicuro.
Ma la giocano per 3?
In realtà stiamo giocando un bel punto noi. Il primo può farle.
Jim in England agreeing there that, yeah, giving up 2, not a disaster. They would much rather have given it 1, but yeah, giving up 2, not the end of the world. And he says forcing would certainly boost the confidence, not that forcing would certainly result in boos. That would not be the case. I do agree, though, that we are in for an exciting 8th end here. Glenn reckons they could have gone harder for a roll to lie shot. Yeah, I think I might agree with you, Glenn. I'm not sure if they were just saying, okay, we just accept we're giving up 2 and then focus on the 8th end. But we are where we are. It is Italy without last stone in this 8th. Will it be final end here in Adelboden? We will need 1, 2, 3 perfect setup stones here from the Italian front end. Mattia Giovanella has had a really wonderful introduction to full-time play in this team.
Molto buona, 14-26.
Lovely throw from him. The Italians don't need to throw the guard first of all. Certainly easier to throw the shot first and then guard it afterwards. Then you're not risking accidentally touching an edge of your own guard as you try to draw round. And Joel would have been pretty certain that Schnider will be throwing the corner guard either way, and think he may as well make life easy. Schnider will start out trying to push hard to give himself chance for 2 and win the game at this 8th end. But they also need to keep eyes on making sure they can at least score 1 point and force an extra end. Two gold stars for our 2 lead throwers, Mattia Giovanella and Tom Winkelhausen. Perfect stones from both of them.
Linea buona. Linea buona.
Aspetta, linea, aspetta.
Linea sarà buona. Rama.
Giù. Giù.
Hard.
Hard.
Oh. Oh.
Gosh, Mattia Giovanella has been making good use of his time as alternate in previous seasons for this team. And goodness me, has he hit the ground running. Now full-time throwing with Retornaz's team. But his opposition today, Tom Winkelhausen, having a pretty tidy game himself. Tom being asked to chase that red that's at the centre now. Remember, Schnider needs to make sure that he can still score 1 point, even if the possibility to score 2 has gone. And that's a super set-up stone from Tom Winkelhausen, that yellow. Nice and tight in front of that red.
Call out. Sicuramente linea migliore. C'è la guardia però. No, anche se sei qua così va bene.
Secondo me è uguale, 14,5. Va bene.
Now we start moving things around. We've had 2 real nice set-up stones from Mattia Giovanella for the Italians playing red, and from Tom Winkelhausen for the Swiss playing yellow. Now, what can the other guys do with it?
No, linea no.
6. Non è male questa.
Linea è buona.
6. 6.
Linea.
The score is 6-5 to Retornaz, but it is Schnider who has last stone.
Non è male questa. 6.
Linea buona. No bounce.
Se lascia ferma la va bene.
No bounce.
That is exactly what the Italians were looking for. They want to give no chance to Schnider to score 2 in this 8th end. Everybody must be getting a little bit tired. This is the team's 6th game this weekend. But the Italians want to make sure that their worst result actually in this end is having to play an extra end. And if we do play an extra end, it will be Italy who has the last stone.
Ja. Inter. Also vielleicht geht der dann, je nachdem wie du ihn triffst, könnte er auch ganz raus.
Nicht mega schlimm.
Gut.
There are 5 stones already in play, and that means free guard zone is over, no tick rule is over, and Noé Traub can throw a screamer at this and start clearing out the centre. Try to bring that corner guard into play. He just gets the centre guard, but he rolls nicely himself. They've now got that double corner guard. That could be helpful later.
Fa così. Così.
That comes out a little bit different on our cool technical pop-up, but Alberto, he put a couple of Italian flags. He's cheering for Retornaz in this 8th end.
Solo due, due più, due più.
Linea buona.
Due più tre, due più
Linea,
tre.
linea.
Due più.
Linea ok.
Due
Linea
più.
buona, linea buona.
Solo due, solo due, solo due.
Sì,
Due
solo
meno.
due, solo due.
Due meno.
Giù. Oh, ok. Bravo, tiro.
Bravo.
Nice throw. Also from Sebastiano Armand. We're having a really high quality final here.
Was ist so? Schnell.
The point of that guard was to cover the yellow, actually. They don't want Schnider having access to that yellow, and then he can use the yellow on the left of the centre line, just near the forefoot. He could use that yellow to start popping the reds out.
Oh.
So that was very much on purpose.
Also ich
So
finde
ein
den
bisschen
Fall auch
Mitte
gut.
bewegen. Die Winkel liegen nicht gut für uns, oder? Die verstanden?
Ja, genau.
Eben, darum, dass wir das ein bisschen lösen.
Se la neva abbastanza.
Again, we don't want Schnider losing sight of being able to pick up one here. He mustn't push too hard to get two and then not give themselves a chance of even scoring one.
Also ich finde gut, wenn der genug weit
It's a difficult balance sometimes.
Wir können ja versuchen so.
Ja.
Nicola Stoll coming up for a powwow, trying to decide
Also mit
what's best to do here.
Ja, outline, glaube ich, oder?
So. Kann da ein bisschen vorne schauen, dass der genug weit überdrückt. Outlänge.
I think no harm just trying to move these reds around, though. If Schnider wants to score one, never mind two, those reds are in his way. He's inching ever closer, which suggests a robust weight coming from Noé Traub. He's also had a superb debut in this team. The team playing really nicely together already. Big sweep though from Tom Winkelhauser. I don't think that is going to be around that front guard. But that's okay. At least that moves that guard away from the centre now. Although the clockwise handle is getting a bit blocked up now over there. André Schnider will need to get to a point where he realises that getting two is becoming really quite difficult, and just focus on making sure they can get one and forcing an extra end. And you don't want to hang on too long and discover that you can't even really get 1 point. Copy paste from Italy. Just replacing that centre guard, covering that yellow. They don't want to give the Swiss access to that yellow stone.
Out.
Things getting a bit blocked up out front. That is not what Schnider will want to look at with his last stone. A big pile of stuff out front.
Noé, ja, mooi. Noé! Bringen, Noé!
Hard. Hard, dat is goed. Wit.
Okay.
That's nice from Nicola Stoll. Just moving things around, keeping yellows in play,
Al bus.
moving one of those dangerous reds.
Guardi al bus.
But if you're Italy, do you guard now? And just keep asking the question of the Swiss? And just accept that your worst case is probably an extra end. It's quite early to just guard that shot and cross your fingers though.
No, stavo pensando se noi...
The little flags in Martin's message, they also come out in text. CH, CH, he has lots of little Swiss flags. He's cheering for Schnider. But I think all of us really enjoying this final here. Either of these teams will be a new champion here in Adelboden. It's only the third time for this competition. Last year's champions, Team Hösli, they had a bit of a tough tournament. Marco Hösli off injured with injured right shoulder. And Martin Rios being super sub skip, but tough for the Höslis to play in that new dynamic immediately. And Hösli's making it to the semi-final. Last year's champions, but we shall have a new champion this year. It will be either the team in front of us from Italy or Team Schnider from Switzerland. Glenn wondering about hitting the open yellow. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I think the angle is not kind on the yellow in the front ring on the centre line. And I wasn't able to listen in well enough to hear what the plan is, but maybe with that ice they could be hitting the open yellow. And again, that's just really neutralising the risk that they can ever lose a 2 at this end. And as Matthew says, indeed, that would really crowd up the forefoot. Because now, I wonder, could Schnider use his own yellow and fire it sideways? But yeah, there's an awful lot of stuff out front though, isn't there? Ooh, that's a lot of guards. I think that's the one to go for. Yeah, the clockwise handle is getting awfully crowded over there. So I think if you're going to go for one of those reds, it's the one on the other side of the centre line, and at least try to clear the anti-clockwise handle.
Zo, hè?
Ja.
Halbe.
Met hem out.
Nee, met hem in.
Oké.
Met hem in. Munt zo spinnen. Nee, wacht. Mol. Zo.
But time to clear a bit of space. I think the 2 is a bit of a distant dream at the moment, and Schnider has to now focus on making sure they give themselves a chance for an extra end.
Nooie weg, nooie weg. Weg, 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 weg. Okay.
And Nicola Stoll does clear the anti-clockwise handle.
Oh, adesso giochiamo questo. Che è rimasta anche quella. Oh, guarda di nuovo.
Quella lì conta.
No, vabbè.
Ooh, this really is just like sitting in the bar, isn't it? Watching a game, everybody discussing what could be a good idea. We have 4 stones to come. In the 8th end, will it be the final end of the final game in Adelboden? There is a huge trophy waiting for our new champions.
Questa non si muove tanto. No. Questa che caso la...
Yeah, I think if they do remove this open yellow, then I think their chance of losing the game at this end is almost 0. And it's still quite a tough shot to force an extra end as well. So it could be that's what they're looking at now.
Yep. Whoa, whoa.
First throw in the 8th end
Yep.
for the Italian skip Joe Retornaz.
Whoa. Whoa.
They are indeed going for the open yellow, just trying to crowd the forefoot. And they've done that really nicely. So how much of that yellow can we see from the other end? It looks very tempting to smash that yellow into those reds, but I'm not sure you can quite get the right angle on it. I would leave the Hail Mary on the yellow on the right hand side. I would leave that for a last stone if all else fails. Our Korean colleague in the chat, where's that? Oh no, I think that may be a Japanese colleague. Thinks that this will be the last end. We still need a bit of magic here from Andrew Schnider. And if you're an Italian fan, and even the rest of the Italian team actually, you may look back on that huge score of 1 in the 5th end, where Joe Retornaz was drawing against 3 opposition counters, and there was a whole heap of granite lying around everywhere, and he had very little flexibility and nailed the forefoot with his final draw. And depending on what happens here, we may have cause to look back at that 5th end and say that was the game saver. But 3 stones to come. First stone for Schnider in this 8th end here in Adelboden. They've discussed it. They know where they need to hit this yellow. Try to give themselves a chance with their final throw. And that's pretty nice.
Okay. Yeah.
That's moved 2 of the danger stones. He would have wanted a slightly less of a roll if we're being super picky, so that he could maybe use his own shooter again for his final throw. But that's really cleared out the forefoot. That's about as good as he could have done, I think, with 1 shot there, Schnider. Yeah, gather your courage, young man. Certainly, whoever wins this final, I think we've had a super time watching. This has been a very worthy final for a World Curling Tour event. That's an interesting idea, Joel, just pointing to that wide yellow over on the wing that we said could be the Hail Mary shot, if nothing else. And Joel thinking, should I just take that shot away from him? Because the risk is, as Joel just pointing out, if Andrew Schnider went for that Hail Mary shot and doing a big roll in from the yellow on the side of our screen, if he makes it, he's going to win the game. Yeah, Joel's worried about that shot as a final throw for Schnider. It's a tricky one. If you put a stone on the anti-clockwise handle, if you put it anywhere near sort of front of house or a guard, I think you will get Andrew Schnider trying the Hail Mary shot. And that could be game from there. But if you put this stone too close to T-line, you might leave him a more straightforward, gentle hit and roll.
Appena meno, appena meno, prendiamo proprio.
Final throw definitely in this 8th end for Retornaz. Will we be gathering all the stones for an extra? Let's see.
Ok. Linea buona. Oh, linea. Stai che sola.
Linea buona.
Stai che sola. Linea ok. Linea ok. No, non serve.
Cesar not keen on this idea.
Linea buona.
Linea per
Linea
rama.
perfetta. Linea
I
perfetta.
certainly don't like this idea if this gets it to T-line.
14 qua, Ancora. Vabbè, tira. Perché non hai calcolato?
I think that's fine enough. Let's say that. So yeah, everybody's having a look at that big in off the wing on the right-hand side of our screen. Is that worth a risk? You could... Well, actually, no, I don't think you could win the game from there because I think that red just thrown by Joel, I think it now jams onto that one. So actually, that was probably part of the Italians' thinking, is that now the Hail Mary in off the side doesn't help anymore. And I think Schnider is going to have to simply follow that stone from Joel Retornaz at just about T plus kind of weight, back of T. And this for the extra end. So deep breath, Andrew Schnider. He doesn't even need backline weight here. He just needs kind of back 4, back 8 sort of weight. He will not take his eyes off this shot, Andrew Schnider. T plus, they're calling. The weight sounds good. Still got to catch the curl. Is it coming? Still got to catch the curl. Is it catching the curl? Ooh, has it got enough? Oh, it has. What a shot from Schnider. Boah, that is a champion's shot. Good stone, young man. What a pressure shot that was. And all of our predictions coming true, I said we should be keeping an eye on Schnider's team as a possible surprise winner, and that I would not be surprised to see this grand final here in Adelboden going to an extra end. And what a clutch shot from Andrew Schnider. Scores are now tied. We will play an extra end after 8 ends of regulation play here in Adelboden. It is 6 points each. The crowd is going wild, Matthew. Everybody going bonkers here in the virtual club. And indeed, the virtual fans really praising the cool heads of the young Swiss. But that has overcurled a little bit and not protected by the no-tick rule. Joel Retornaz can go for the tick shot if he wants to. And indeed, I think no reason not to try. Everybody loving that shot from Andrew Schnider. Probably except Joel Retornaz. But this is exactly what happened in their round-robin game. These two teams so closely matched. They went to an extra end in the round-robin. They're going to an extra end here in the final. Bonus curling for us virtual fans. And he's got a little bit. Oh, no, that's interesting. Now that stone is touching the centre line, but it wasn't first of all, so I wonder if that stone is now... Actually, if Joel's made it worse. I think that's what Andrew Schnider is now asking. Is the stone now protected by no-tick zone because it's now touching the centre line? I would think that is the case. Matthew saying that Schnider is another cool customer. He can join the cool customer gang of, say, Benny Schwartz and Bruce Mowat. He never knows he's beaten Andrew Schnider. He always thinks he's going to get that shot. And that's quite a convenient attitude to have when you're throwing these tricky fourth shots, and that's more like it from Tom Winkelhausen. No doubt about that. That's definitely touching that centre line. That stone is protected by no-tick rule. And this is a bright start for the young Swiss team. Mattia Giovanella can make a big difference with this throw. Accidentally chipping the opposition stone onto the no-tick line last time. And making a big difference there, Mattia Giovanella. Just getting to that all-important area ahead of tee. Just getting there first. I'm sure we shall see the Italians going to remove those stones out front. Alex in the chat. He thinks extra end is going to be a steal. Let's see. Let's see if that no-tick rule really makes a big difference here. It's certainly more interesting for us viewers that you're not allowed to remove those stones from the centre line. Otherwise, the extra end can be a little bit maybe predictable. And that's okay from Traub. He's cleared some space on the clockwise handle. And you can see just under half, I think, of that red stone. But as we thought, 5 stones are played. Free guard zone is over. We will now see Italy, the gigantic middle order, land of the giants from Italy, just trying to clear as many stones as they can. Indeed, those guards are in front of their own Italian stone. But we're always thinking ahead. We're thinking to Joel Retornaz's final throw. His ideal situation is nothing at all. And the best way to nothing at all is to start removing guards. I think they're just cautious that they don't want to accidentally squirt the second yellow straight back onto the red. But I don't think that's too much of a risk. I think the second yellow, if he is making the double, Sebastiano, I think the second yellow goes way wide on the right. Let us see. Ooh, just the one. And we shall see this end play out in cat and mouse fashion. Do you want a second guard? Keep forcing Italy to try to play the double takeout on the guards, or do we go into the house already? Not really right or wrong answer there. If you play a second guard, Italy will be going for the double takeout anyway. The risk of going into the house just now, and we're really only halfway through this end, the risk is that you end up playing the rest of the end in the house and your chance of a steal a bit less likely. But Schnider's team really looking for a nice freeze here from Neutraub to provide a bit of protection. They haven't quite got that. And Unfortunately, if you're a Swissy fan,
Singola quale?
those yellows look very tempting for a double takeout, don't they?
Non è, vabbè. Sopra in teoria ce la portiamo sempre via di qua. Dentro neanche pensarci, eh. No, beh, ma ci va un quarto, penso. Un quarto. Fra un quarto e un terzo, un quarto.
Ramma winding up his throwing arm for one last big bomb. Here it comes.
Oh!
And he's got everything going this time. That's a super shot from him. He's really pushed his team a little bit further to the finish line. And that was the danger of playing into the house. If you didn't get that freeze really perfect, you are going to probably end up playing the rest of the game, the rest of this end, more like in the house. So calling for a guard, we can pretty much guarantee Italy will just remove this guard, and then let's see what the Swiss do. Will they throw up one more guard after that, or start going for the freeze? I think they maybe should have persisted with the guard a little bit longer before going into the house. I could see the temptation, and as we thought, Italy will go ahead and remove that. Osako in Japan. Big fan of the Italian boys and their smart red uniforms. She's happy to see a double takeout from Ramma. And another big pio from Mazzana. Alex is rethinking whether this end is going to be a steal after all, after that huge double takeout from Sebastiano Arman. Victor really happy to see Joel's team getting better and better over the past 10 years. I fully agree with you. Anyone who was surprised at this team picking up the bronze medal in the World Championships, well, they haven't been paying attention, quite honestly. Here in the virtual curling club, Retornaz team been a favourite of ours for a long time. Well, mine. Oh, and for a bonus, he just removes the insurance shot. So what do you do? Do you try the freeze immediately and take the risk that Joe Retornaz might be able to spill everything? Or do you try one more guard? Try to see if you can get them to miss at a funny angle. Just to quickly answer James's question about the hacks, there actually is a second hack just behind the yellow stones there. That's it upside down. You can have both hacks if we have any lefties, but we don't. I will be really sad to see either of the teams not pick up the trophy after this game. I think both teams have just played wonderful curling for us this afternoon. I think that's the better decision. I think putting up the guard, I think the risk with going for the freeze, unless you got the freeze perfect, Joe Retornaz would likely scatter everything, and then Schnider would be drawing to an empty house, which he surely would do, and Joel would have a pretty straightforward shot with his last throw. So I think this calls their bluff a little bit, the Italians. They have to decide, and this is exactly what we saw from Joe Retornaz a couple of times already. Boring Lorna, I would just take off the guard, because then whatever he does with his last stone, I have probably got a straightforward throw. But that's why Joe Retornaz's team are champions, and I'm not, is because they say, right, if you put up the guard, we're just going to go ahead and use your guard. We're going to put a second stone in and force the hand of Schnider that way. So really going to the wire, this final. I feel like everyone's going to burst into tears afterwards just to release the tension a bit. First of 2 throws in this, what will be the final end, an extra end for that lovely trophy in the background here in Adelboden. Joe Retornaz trying to call their bluff here. He wants to put one just in front of the 4-foot. And I've seen him do this a few times already this weekend. That one just running on just a little bit. Is there space? Is there space? This was the idea. André Schnider knows that he'll have a more difficult shot, but that's needed to try to spring a trap for Joe Retornaz. We don't want Joel having a nice easy throw with his last stone. If you're a Swiss fan, I mean. That's how it looks in the mirror. What do you think? There's definitely a little bit of space to just bump up against that red, yeah. Very precise shot coming up, but this is what's needed. There's no sense just leaving an open draw or an open hit for Joe Retornaz. He's not going to miss that. We need to make his life a little bit more complicated. Victor, to quickly answer your question, while André Schnider setting up, I do not know actually where the clubs get the digital scoreboards. All I know is that this is pretty straightforward stuff in Switzerland. All the clubs, every club really, the electronic scoreboard, and they're all the same one as well. Right, come on, André Schnider. Let's put the pressure on. Let's force Joel Retornaz to make a good shot for the championship. Constant communication. He needs to catch the curl, needs to catch the curl, needs to catch the curl. And he has. Oh. He is lying shot, André Schnider. That was such a tough shot. That had to be so precise. Any less weight, he wouldn't have got it far enough and he wouldn't be lying shot. And just what, 5 centimetres too much weight, and it does bounce wide, but what a brave effort from Schnider. There we can see very clearly it is yellow that's shot, and that's the best they can do, is put themselves in a position to steal this game. That's why he's here, Joe Retornaz, is to finish this game off. Clean, clean. That is a very happy sound if you're a sweeper. He doesn't need to be anywhere near that guard, Joel. He doesn't need to hang around himself. And what a final. I am simultaneously delighted for our beloved Retornaz team and so disappointed for what a battling effort from André Schnider's team. And what a worthy final. Thank you to both teams for giving us such a superb final game here in Adelboden. Either team, I think, would be worthy champions. And poor André Schnider's team, what a fight they gave it. But finally, some real classy stuff from the Italians. All of that experience playing out at the end there, and a really just calm, delivery from Joel for the championship. Congratulations to you, Team Schnider. What a fight, what a performance this weekend. And congratulations to our new champions. It is the lovely tall boys in their lovely red uniforms from Italy. Oh, Osako, whom I know, she's been cheering for the Italians. She thinks that maybe we need 2 trophies for this game. I fully agree with you, Osako. All of us here in the virtual club really enjoying that game. It could not have been more exciting for us viewers. And yeah, initially really disappointing for Schnider's team, but what a performance from them as well. The Italians really had a fight on their hands today. Just bringing the stones back to the home end. Disappointment for the Swiss, but there's no stopping these Italians. They played 6 games last weekend. They won them all. They have played 6 games this weekend. They have won them all. Not an easy journey at all for this Italian team. They have faced 3 extra ends out of those 6 games. But finally, what a game that was. I'm really happy we could all enjoy that together. Thank you everyone for joining us here in the virtual club. We have had a super time, as always, here in Adelboden. There are your new champions. That is the all-conquering Team Retornaz from Italy. At 4th and skip is Joel Retornaz. 3rd, Amos Mazaner. 2nd, Sebastiano Arman. Lead thrower, Mattia Giovanella. They have, since last weekend, played 12, won 12. They are worthy champions here in Adelboden. Congratulations to them. And thank you everyone in the virtual club for joining us this weekend. I hope you've had as much fun as we have. I think the virtual club is back in Chompery in about 1 month's time. And I think we will be seeing the all-conquering Italians there as well. But we leave you with your new champions from Italy. Finally defeating battling Team Schnider. There's a nice little box of gifts for our champions. I'm not sure, did they get the trophy right away? Shall we can stay and have a look. Lots of congratulations to both teams here in the chat. I'm sure even our Italian fans really enjoyed watching that game. And maybe the Italian boys, maybe their fancy new red uniforms, maybe they should stick with them. They seem to work pretty well. And here we are. Look at that for a trophy. It's gorgeous. So a nice basket of local goodies. And taking the 2 big boys to lift it. So a nice check for 1,200 Swiss francs. That's always good for competition expenses. And that lovely old trophy repurposed for this men's competition. They've got so many prizes, they can't hold on to them all. There will be 4 new names on the trophy this year. The names of Joel Retornaz, Amos Mazaner, Sebastiano Arman and Mattia Giovanella. Super new champions. And I really hope that we see Team Andre Schnider back in World Curling Tour finals. I really like watching Schnider's team. They never know they're beaten. They get involved in far more than their fair share of extra ends. And we love to see it. So congratulations once more to our new champions from Italy, Retornaz Rink. Join us again in the virtual club soon. Thank you for your company this weekend. Bye for now. too annoyed